The public safety training pathway has 6 different programs that make up that pathway. Our programs are criminal justice, administration of justice, corrections, fire technology, wildland, and paramedic. We'd like to provide you with tools which will prepare you for careers that are available, such as police officer, sheriff's deputy, correctional officer, probation officer, FBI agent, Customs and Border Patrol, Secret Service, forensic science, technical investigator, structure firefighting, wildland firefighting, EMT, paramedic, emergency room technician, wilderness EMT, movie set EMT, industrial safety, and confined space rescue technician. If you have any questions about the public safety pathway, please schedule an appointment with our educational advisor at 661-395-4316. We look forward to helping you find success during your academic journey.
Hello, welcome everyone to Bakersfield College's Law Enforcement Employers Panel webinar. I am Pat Smith, Professor of Criminal Justice at Bakersfield College, and I will be the moderator for today's event. We are so glad that you have joined us today, and I think this webinar is going to give you some helpful information about the hiring process at local law enforcement agencies. During the webinar, you will be able to post questions at the bottom of the screen. Just click on the Q&A button at the bottom and post your question. Each agency will also post their websites if you would like to contact their agency directly for additional information. Also, at the end of the webinar, there is a Survey Monkey. If you could take a few moments to complete this survey, we would greatly appreciate it. This survey provides us with useful information to help us streamline future public safety events. Okay, let's get this started. I would like to first introduce our Dean of Instruction for the Public Safety Pathway at Bakersfield College, Dean Laura Larkin. Welcome, Dean Larkin.
Thank you, Pat, and welcome to all of you here. Thank you to all of you for coming to Bakersfield College's virtual employer panel. I am Lori Larkin, the proud administrator that is in constant awe at the work that is accomplished by our staff, our faculty, and our community partners on a continual basis. I'd like to give a special thank you to all of you here who took the time out of your day to listen to our very informative panel, and to everyone who assisted in putting together this amazing opportunity for all of you in our audience, along with our public safety employers, to connect together in one forum. The efforts of all these individuals and agencies allow you, our students and community, an opportunity to learn about the requirements for hiring and inform Bakersfield College about the potential for more training within our programs. Also, hopefully, to better prepare you for working with us and working in our community in the near future. I'd especially like to thank our planning team, Dominica Rivera, Jessica McGrath, Fabiola Johnson, Kalina Hill, and Mary Jo Pasick, as well as our behind the scenes team, Freddie Rodriguez, Carlos Medina. In addition, I'd like to thank our faculty who have somehow managed to juggle teaching our students and collaborating in this endeavor. Pat Smith, Gian Metafogo, and Brent Burton. And just as importantly, this wouldn't be happening without our community partners. Thank you to the Bakersfield Police Department, Kern County Sheriff's Office, Kern County Probation Department, and the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. We also appreciate any feedback, like Pat said, from all of you in our audience to offer at the end of the webinar in our survey. Our goal is for this to be an opportunity for our local community to come together in the future as well, but hopefully face to face. I cannot say thank you enough for allowing me to be a part of this exciting event. So without further delay, let's get started. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Dean Larkin. I would also like to introduce BC's Public Safety Pathways Counselor, Fabiola Johnson. Fabiola helps our public safety students stay on course in their studies and is a tremendous help to our students. Welcome, Fabiola.
Hi, Pat, and thank you. Thank you for everyone that's joining us today. I'm here representing, as Pat shared, on behalf of the Public Safety Pathway Counseling Team, that being Dominica Rivera and me, Fabiola Johnson. Let's take a look at some of the counseling information that pertains to the public safety pathway. Those majors specifically that are part of the pathway that you'll be learning more about today being administration of justice, correctional administration, and criminal justice. Next slide. So first things first, steps of enrollment. You have the list there available for you. Let's go ahead and take a look at the link. So as you see, upon clicking on the link, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing is to apply into the to apply to BC. Next, and one of the points that I always emphasize, step 2, applying for financial aid. Even if you think you're not going to be eligible for financial aid, I always encourage students to apply. Third, we do have orientation. That's gives you the opportunity to learn more about BC, the ins and outs of BC, creating your student account, learning more about our different majors, different programs. Step 4, placement and educational plan. This step here gives you the opportunity to meet with a counselor advisor to further discuss what steps you need to take to fulfill your educational goal here at Bakersfield College. And last but not least, registering for classes. So the degrees that you're going to be learning more about today, as far as what career options you have, the degrees that pertain to that are Administration of Justice, Associate's degree for transfer, Correctional Administration, Associates of Art, and Criminal Justice, Associates of Art. To learn more information about these degrees, we do have the program Pathway Mapper, which is located in our main Bakersfield College website. Upon clicking on the Program Mapper link, you obviously here have highlighted or listed the different pathways. The name of our pathway is Public Safety. Upon clicking on Public Safety, you learn or see there listed the different certificates and degrees that pertain to the pathway. Today, again, though, we are focusing on Administration of Justice, Correctional Administration, Criminal Justice. Let's take a look at the first one, Administration of Justice. As you can see here, when you click on the Administration of Justice or whichever one of the three under our Program Mapper, you get some information as to the program learning outcomes, the job outlook regarding the field, salary and growth within the career field. And then as you scroll down, you have a map of the recommended order of classes that you should follow. Obviously, you will be discussing this more in more detail with your counselor advisor, that being again, Dominica Rivera or me. Again, in closing, my name is Fabiola Johnson, a counselor for our Public Safety Pathways team. Along with me, Dominica Rivera. She's our advisor for the Public Safety Pathway. Back to you, Pat. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabiola. Okay, let's start with our first panelist. Our first panelist is with the Bakersfield Police Department, and we have Sergeant Chris Fiola. Sergeant Fiola, welcome, and can you please share some of the units you've worked at the Bakersfield Police Department before you get into your slide presentation, please?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I've been with the Bakersfield Police Department for the past 24 years. I've worked patrol, traffic. I was at our academy as a recruit training officer. I worked narcotics. I got promoted as a detective, and I worked in homicide and internal affairs. I was also on the SWAT team for several years. I've been on the honor guard team for the past 15 years. I'm an instructor still with the academy, and I teach at BC at adjunct for some other classes. And then I got promoted to sergeant, and I worked back in our gang unit. And now I'm in training and logistics, where I'm handling primarily recruiting. So, and doing a lot of these webinars and a lot of these public safety announcements for everybody. So. I'm going to go ahead and pull my webinar. All right, so here is just our presentation. So I want to get, oh, all right. So the Bakersfield Police Department, as you can see, is a professional police organization which recruits qualified persons for the position of police officer, as well as other positions throughout various times of the year. Currently, we have about 432 sworn, and we have about 186 non-sworn civilian employees. And then I just want to make sure everybody's aware of our mission statement. So the Bakersfield Police Department partners with the community to protect the lives and property of the people we serve. And it's a motto that we kind of go by. I'm also going to touch on at the back end of our presentation, our guiding values. So just for police officer opportunities, these are just some of the jobs that you can work in when you come to the Bakersfield Police Department. You know, there's the typical canine, SWAT, bomb squad, traffic. Again, you can look at this. These things take time. You don't come right on and get on the canine team or get on the SWAT team. It's going to be a couple of years. So, you know, we want you to learn to be a competent police officer or whatever other position you are in order to go to some of these positions. So just here's the base salary, excuse me, for police officer. And this is as of like last year. So it's probably changed a little bit, but the base salary while you're going to the academy, we have a paid academy. It's 23 weeks long. It's $4,053 to $4,927 a month. And then upon graduation of the academy, it's, you know, $5,075 to $6,181, and then you've got additional holiday pay and overtime. Some of the other incentives that we offer the Bakersfield Police Department are right now for police officers, we have a $3,000 signing bonus, and that is paid after your first year after the academy training. We have some advanced certificates, which you can get, which is an advanced post and then an intermediate post. And these are generally a few years after. So this is the advanced post is like 5 years after. If you have a college degree, AA or a BA, it's a shorter period of time. And then intermediate post is a certain time after that. We do offer $100 biweekly bilingual pay. You have to certify for that. And once you get certified in whatever language it may be, that you get that extra pay. We offer a $1,300 a year uniform allowance. We offer shift differential pay. And then we do have hazardous duty pay for specialty assignments such as canine or riding a motorcycle or being on the SWAT team. Some of the topics I wanted to cover today were just the pathway to become a police officer with the Bakersfield Police Department. And we'll talk about some other positions, which are, this is almost very similar with the exception of some of the, like the written exam. So the first is the written test for police officer, which is called the Pellet B. And then we turn in paperwork after that if it's passed, and we'll go into these in more detail, which is called the PHS and PIBQ, personal history statement, and the pre-investigative background questionnaire. And then you go to the physical agility exam. If you pass that, you go to the oral exam. If you pass the oral exam, you're put on an eligibility list and you go to a polygraph exam. After the polygraph, you go through a background investigation, which takes a significant amount of time. And then you go through a psychological and a medical exam, and then hopefully you get given a job offer and you get to go to the academy. So let's talk about the written exam first, which is called the Pellet B. This is a test which is conducted by Human Resources. It is a test that is from POST, which is the California Peace Officer Standards and Training. And there's a website for that as well, but it's a written test that measures reading, comprehension skills, spelling, grammar, punctuation, reasoning ability, observation, and memory of the candidates. You can find a study guide on the California Post website, where's the links right here. This is a pass or fail test. We do request, or we have a passing score of 42 or better, which is a score that is calculated by Post. This test can be taken once every 30 days with an agency. So you can take it at the Kern County Sheriff's Department, you can take it at LAPD, and if you pass it, you can come here and test for us if we're offering a recruitment. If not, then if you don't pass it, you can take it again in 30 days with another department or from that same department. Then we have what's called the PHS and the PIBQ. This is a series of documents, and this is just the information sheet that we usually give out to our candidates. We've been doing webinars for the last year regarding each phase of the recruitment if you apply with us. So these paperwork is how we start your background process, and it's imperative that you fill these documents out completely and accurately. There's not a lot of reasons for, I mean, we're looking at things like prior drug use and driving under influence and theft convictions, stuff like that, where in the past it would have been automatically disqualifying. Now it's not. We're looking at each individual on that on an individual basis, and we make a determination from there. The biggest reason why people fail a background is they turn this paperwork in and it doesn't have all the information on it, and there's omissions and misstatements. That right there will get you disqualified faster than not putting everything on there that you should. We just have I'm going to have a contact address at the end, but there's just our planning, research, and training division, and that's the main number for our secretary. And again, I'll give you that at the end. So this is just a copy of the cover page of the PHS. It is 25 pages long. It's a series of filling in the blanks, questions. It asks you to follow instructions, and if you answer no to something, or if something doesn't apply, you have to put NA in it. If you have something that you answer yes to, you have to give an explanation to each and every question. It's about 200 and so questions where it asks you various things, and then it has a couple pages at the end for you to add that to. This is the cover page of our PIBQ. And again, this is a 13-page document. It's very similar to the PHS, a little condensed, but it also gives you an instruction sheet that we ask everybody to read. You have to sign it that you understand it, because we have those folks that sometimes will fill these out and they don't put, like just right here, throughout the questionnaire, the word ever refers to your lifetime. Is something ever happened? That if the question says ever in it, that's what it means. And sometimes some people will put on there, it happened when I was young, or this or that, and it's not that you're omitting stuff, or hopefully you're not omitting stuff or misstating stuff, but again, we want to make sure that everybody explains everything. We're looking for people with the best possible character and attitude to come to work for the Bakersfield Police Department. After that, you go to, excuse me, you're invited to the physical agility. The physical agility is usually conducted here at our training facility at 4646 California Avenue. It is a series of 4 different events. As you can see, it's a 99-yard obstacle course, body drag, running and jumping over a 6-foot chain link fence, and then a 500-yard run, which we do a short distance away. This is also a pass or fail. Right here, I have the recommended passing times. When you take the test, we don't give you pass or fail because we just don't know with the scores. You have to get a total cumulative score of 183 points to pass the physical agility. You may pass every event, but you may not do it fast enough or hard enough to get the full points. So we ask everybody when they come here that when you're doing this, prepare to come here, prepare to do these events. These events can also be found on the post website, along with better descriptions and with the times for passing. After the physical agility, you're invited to an oral appraisal exam. This is made to check the applicant's personal qualifications, education, training, and experience. This is done with a panel of 3, usually 2 representatives from BPD, usually a sergeant and one of our training officers, and then 1 representative from human resources. The test is weighted 100%, and there's a passing score required of 70 percentile to qualify for the eligibility list. After the oral appraisal, you get put on a list, and we do offer 5 veterans preference points for qualified candidates once they make the eligibility list. So make sure you turn it in that DD 214 if you've done it, and if you're getting requirements for college and you're doing you have that already turned in, then you need to make sure you turn it in with the background paperwork as well. After the eligibility list is made, people are put in a numerical order, and then all the candidates will submit to a polygraph examination, which will assist in determining his or her suitability for the position of police officer. Our polygraph is done. We have 2 internal officers from the BPD, 2 sergeants that do polygraphs, and we have a retired lieutenant that actually does polygraphs off-site, has his own business. So we do polygraphs, and we're in the midst of polygraphs right now. We usually get 3 to 6 done a day. And after the polygraph, you go through what's called a post-poly interview. We do the interview with you. And then once you get through that, again, this is a pass or fail. Then we start your background process. The background process is all applicants must undergo a background of their personal history to determine their suitability. And then along with that, it says that there's going to be an interview with his chief of police or his designee. That is usually what we call the captain's interview. That's done at the very, very end. We use the information from your PHS and PIBQ in order to conduct the background investigation. Our backgrounds, we have a plethora of background investigators, so it usually takes about 30 to 45 to 60 days to complete a background, depending on how complete and accurate the paperwork is, as well as if we can get a hold of all the references that you put down and all the information that you put down. If you neglect to put information down, it can make these things longer. If you put a lot of information, we can get them done maybe in, hopefully 20 to 30 days. Again, this is a pass or fail. After that, once like I said, we go from this to what's called the captain's interview. We're just our captains in the department will give you what's called a conditional job offer. After receiving the conditional job offer of employment, all candidates must successfully pass a psychological, written, and oral exam, as well as a complete medical exam, which will include a drug screen. So we have a licensed psychologist that is off-site. Also, you go to one of the city doctors at Central Valley Occupational or Memorial Occupational to conduct the medical exam. We have nothing to do with that. So again, that's something that you'll do with these types of clinical positions. These are pass or fail. Once you're done with that, then you get actually the job offer to come to the academy, and hopefully you can successfully navigate the academy. We do offer voluntary physical training and voluntary defensive tactics training for people that are on our eligibility list, so they can get a good head start into the academy process. Like I said, it's 23 weeks long. It's 5 days a week. So we do have other positions at the Bakersfield Police Department as well, which are dispatcher, communication specialist, police service technician, police property and equipment specialist, clerk typist, police report specialist. We also have some others like computer forensic examiner and things of that nature. The police dispatcher is also a post mandated position. So they go through a very similar background to what we do as police officers. They do have a written exam, which is called critical. And then they get placed on an eligibility list. They go to an oral interview, they get placed on an eligibility list, and they do the exact same background as we do as police officers, with the exception of they don't go through a psychological or a medical exam. Communication specialist is just just underneath a dispatcher, and all they do is take calls in the comm center. They don't dispatch calls. A police service technician is you might have seen them driving around in the white trucks. They handle non-priority calls, traffic accidents, and that kind of thing. They do have a physical agility. They go through a written exam. They go through an oral exam. They have a physical agility, which is very minor. It's a 349-yard run, a body drag as well, and then a 30-foot car push. And then they go through a similar background as dispatchers and us. They also do not have to go through a psychological or a medical. Property equipment specialist is they work in our property room as well as in various areas of the department. They handle property and equipment. A clerk typist is just that, working in our records section. And a police report specialist is a call taker, where they do reports, the online reports and the telephonic reports. These two positions, you do need to have a certain amount of schooling. You have to have everything here. It takes a high school diploma, but with clerk typist and police report specialist, as well as dispatcher and communication specialist, they're going to have a typing certificate with 45 words or better. Here's my contact information. If you guys ever need to get a hold of me, I'm by my computer or by my phone 24/7. This is my direct office line, my direct email. I also answer emails very frequently from the recruiting at bakersfieldpd.us. We're currently in the midst of working on a brand new website, which will have hyperlinks and everything to all these other posts and to other issues. So please be patient with that. You can also contact our human resources or look for job openings at human resources. And here is the link to human resources. And again, I just want to stress that our guiding values here at the Bakersfield Police Department are compassion, accountability, and professionalism. We try to adhere to those guiding values in every contact we have and everything we do. We're also looking for candidates and potential candidates for every position in the police department to adhere to these guiding values. I'm going to open it up to any questions if anybody has any at this time, or if we don't have any at the end. But also just on the bottom is all our links. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Nextdoor, Snapchat, YouTube, and all these other things. So again, I just, if anybody has any questions for me, please feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you, Sergeant Viola. That was outstanding information that will really help our students. We will have questions, Q&A at the end. Please, just a reminder to put your questions in at the Q&A. Just click on the button at the bottom and enter your question. Thank you very much. Okay, our next speakers are from the Kern County Sheriff's Office. We have Senior Deputy Roger Walden and Deputy Jennifer McNeil. And if you can please share some of the units and experience you've had at the Kern County Sheriff's Office.
Sure. Good afternoon. I'm Senior Deputy Walden. I've been with the department for about 15 years. Started off in courts, went out to patrol and worked a number of different substations. I've worked from Rosamond, Tehachapi, Mojave, worked in Metro for a little bit, which is the Bakersfield area. After I promoted, I went to the jail and then to Lake Isabella, back out to Mojave, and then to backgrounds.
My name is Deputy Jennifer McNeil. I'm a deputy with the Sheriff's Office. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for approximately 12 years. I started out in the courts. I've worked the jail facility, transportation, patrol in Tehachapi, and now I am in the background investigation unit as a background investigator.
All right, so teamwork makes the dream work. With the Sheriff's Office, each individual substation or unit that you're with is kind of like a team. That's what brought me into law enforcement. That's not just a Sheriff's Department thing, that's a law enforcement thing. After college, I went into biotech and missed the whole teamwork that I had with high school and college sports. And so I found that back in law enforcement. Here lists a number of our different units that we've got, and they're all an individual team working together as a big group. So if you go to the next slide. Deputy Sheriff is one of the units that we're currently recruiting. I think we've got about 80 vacancies as in the Deputy Sheriff position. I think we've got over 100 vacancies if you count the senior deputies and sergeants and on up the chain of command. With the Deputy Sheriff position, you've got to be at least 19 years of age by the time you apply with us. You've got to be a high school graduate. You've got to be a citizen of the US or in the process of obtaining your citizenship, and you've got to have a valid driver's license. Next slide. These are some of the different places that you can be assigned as a deputy sheriff and some of the different units that you can be a member of. We've got about 20 to 25 different locations that you can be assigned, and specialized units from our bike unit to off-highway vehicle unit, K9 and air support, all that kind of stuff. Next slide.
We also have the detention deputy position. Their main duties are the security and the supervision of the inmates that are incarcerated in the Kern County jails. The minimum requirements for the detention deputy position are to be 18 years of age or older, a high school graduate, GED or equivalent, and then a valid California driver's license. If you do have a core certificate, you can apply as a lateral. If you do not have a core certificate, you can apply as a trainee. We also have a sign-in bonus currently. It is $10,000 for both the detention and the deputy position, as long as you have never worked for our department or had a Kern County job working for the county. Next slide. And again, the detention deputy work for the Laredo jail facility. At the facility, there's a pre-trial facility, justice facility, max need, minimum. And the administration services, inmate services, training section, and the CERT team. Next slide.
Dispatcher is another position that we're constantly looking for applicants for. With our dispatch unit, you start off as a dispatch assistant unless you've got extensive experience as a dispatcher. For that, you've got to be 18 years or older. You've got to have a high school diploma, and you've got to have a typing certificate showing you can type at 35 words a minute for the dispatch assistant. Next slide.
We also have the sheriff's aide position. They have several different duties. A majority of them work in the jail facility in the control rooms. They are in control of the surveillance, the cell doors, and they control the keys. The minimum requirements for that position is you must be 18 years of age or older, high school graduate or GED or equivalent, and a valid California's driver's license. Go ahead and go to the next slide.
So if you go to the Kern County website, that's where we accept all the applications for all the different positions. You go to the human resources, to the career section, and fill out the application there. Most of the ones that we listed, as well as numerous other jobs, are continually being recruited, although they're not continually open. Anytime we have a continuous recruitment, we've got to close that recruitment in order to do the testing, only to open it back up again. So if we're doing the testing currently, then it's going to be closed, but it'll be back open shortly. If you are interested in a position and it's not listed as open, if you go into the job description, you can have them email you when it becomes open. Our application and testing process is similar to Sergeant Viola mentioned with BPD. It's post-mandated for the most part, and so we won't regurgitate all the testing and background steps. Next slide.
So the testing process, we work with the Kern County Human Resource Department. You'll start with the written test. So after you apply with them, then the Kern County Human Resource Department will give you a testing date. We also use the Pellet B test. So say you do take a Pellet B test with BPD and you get a score, you can actually use that score with us if you have gotten that score within the last 6 months. So the test is the same. We also do an oral interview. Currently for this recruitment, they are bypassing the oral interview due to COVID. But eventually that will come back. And then for the deputy sheriff position, we do a physical agilities testing as well. It includes a vehicle push, a balance beam, a dummy drag, an obstacle course, and a 440-yard run. For the detentions deputy position, it is just the written and the oral and no physical abilities testing. Again, the applicants who pass the examinations with a passing score of at least 70% in each exam will be placed on an eligibility list. And then once you're on the list, then we will get that list and you will begin the background process. Next slide. And then once you're in the background process, you'll be assigned a background investigator. You will also fill out a personal history statement, which is very similar to BPD's personal history statement. Again, make sure you're filling that out completely. We do typically give you a week or two to fill that out. Don't wait till the last minute to fill that out. It does take some time to get all the information you need for that packet. Our backgrounds typically take around 2 to 6 months. Just depends how thorough you are in your packet. It makes it much easier when you have all the details in there. And then after that, you'll go to the polygraph exam. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide.
Once you pass the initial background, you're given a conditional job offer, which will include a psych and a medical evaluation, and that's done off-site. Those usually take another 2 or 3 weeks after they're set up. From there, you'll move on. We'll go to the next slide. And from there, once you pass the psych and the medical, then you are ready to start the academy.
All right, and here are our social media platforms. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we also have a website. You can check us out there. And the next slide. And here are just some articles of just the great reward of being a deputy. These guys have saved lives for a choking baby, or rescued some people from fires and it was acknowledged on the news or in the paper. So it's just a very rewarding job. And then here's some pictures. We also have fun. We do shop with a cop or some music festivals, rodeos, trunk or treat. So it's also fun as well. Also, if you have any questions, you can also contact us here at the Sheriff's Office. You can call Kern County Sheriff's Office Human Resources at 661-391-7750, and they can transfer you to a background investigator, and we are happy and here for you to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much for that information. Okay, our next speaker is from the Kern County Probation Department, Officer Adriana Menchaca. Welcome, Officer Menchaca. Can you please tell us a little bit about your experience at probation?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. I am a Deputy Probation Officer 3. I have worked in the probation field for about 13 years. I've worked institutions, diversion units, placement unit, juvenile investigations, also the adult pretrial courts, and my current assignment as a background investigator. The Kern County Probation offers careers with a range of opportunities and diverse assignments. We hire based on our department's needs for the following positions, which is Deputy Probation Officer, Juvenile Corrections Officer, also our extra help Juvenile Corrections Officer, Probation Program Specialist, Office Service Technician, Physical Support Technician, and our Human Resource Specialists. We also hire for our Juvenile Corrections Officer cooks. Next slide. We currently have the Juvenile Corrections Officer position open and available on our county website. We also have our Extra Help Juvenile Corrections Officer, which we continually recruit for. So every 6 weeks, we are reviewing applications for that assignment. Also, we have internship opportunities within our department for those who are in school. And we review those applications twice a year. Next slide. Our juvenile corrections officers and our extra help juvenile corrections officers are responsible for the supervision of our juveniles in custody. Next slide. The JCO and extra help eligibility requirements, they do need a completion of 60 semester units or 90 quarter units of college coursework. No felony convictions, also be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident alien who is eligible or has applied for a U.S. citizenship. Have a valid driver's license and pass the physical ability, also pass an extensive background, including a medical and a psychological evaluation. Next slide. So for our permanent JCO position, the hiring process does include a written exam. You can access a sample exam on our Board of State and Community Corrections at www.bscc.ca.gov. And just look for the Juvenile Corrections Officer examination. It'll give you a sample of what to expect on the day of your written exam. And I apologize, it's flip-flop. If you pass a written exam, you will be called for a physical ability test through our county HR, which consists of a 100-pound body drag for 22 yards within 20 seconds, also a 75-pound sled push and a forward motion for 30 continuous seconds, and also a 200-yard run with 50 seconds. Once you pass your physical ability test with our county HR, then you'll be subject to an interview downtown. And depending on where you're placed on the eligibility list, you'll be called with our department and interview with our department directly. Once you pass your interview, we will assign you a background investigator. And our backgrounds typically take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks to have completed. Your background investigator will provide you with several documents. Two of the key documents that we look at is the personal history statement, which was mentioned by by the other panelists. You can review a personal history statement at post.ca.gov to have an idea of what to expect and what we're looking for once you receive that information. We also do a background investigation questionnaire, which is something that we supply at that time when you are assigned a background investigator. If you pass your background, then you'll be referred to one of our partnered psychologists that we work with, and they'll let us know if you are suitable for the position or not. If you are found suitable, then you will go through our department's HR, and they will in turn refer you for a medical and drug screening here locally. Next slide. I wanted to also include the extra help hiring process. It's a little bit different than the actual county HR in terms of the permanent positions. We only do an interview, an in-house interview with our JCO3s. We handle our physical ability tests here. And then depending on how you do on those two, you will be assigned a background investigator and go through the exact same process as a permanent juvenile corrections officer with our agency. Next slide. And the way to apply for permanent positions is through the Kern County website. You can select the permanent career opportunities. Also, if you're interested in extra help or temporary employment with our agency, you can select that. And I also wanted to mention that we are hosting extra help interviews on May 3rd and May 4th. So if you're interested, I would encourage you to apply. The last day I will be reviewing applications is on April the 27th. Do keep in mind that we do work with your school schedule if you are interested in an extra help position and you meet the requirements. Also on the county website, they do have job descriptions and salaries. So if you want to review the job description and also the salary, you can do so there. I would encourage you to look at the job description for the purpose of interviewing with our department. And as KCSO mentioned, there's also the job interest card that I would advise you to if there are a position that isn't open, that you can go ahead and select the position, and they'll send you an email once that position becomes available. Next slide. Our department also offers internship opportunities. So we actively recruit those who are at least 18 years of age and want to intern in our adult, juvenile, administrative, or volunteer services. Next slide. And internship eligibility requirements, you must be enrolled in an internship class, and it is recommended that you are in your second year at BC. Also, Bakersfield College internship requires 108 hours a semester or otherwise stated by the instructor. So you must be willing to work at least 9 hours a week to meet that requirement. Same guidelines as the other positions: must be a U.S. citizen, have a valid driver's license, pass a background investigation, and have no felony convictions on your record. And how to apply would be through our website, which is www.kernprobation.org. You would select the Volunteer Services tab, download the application, and once you've completed that application, you can submit it to our volunteer and intern coordinator. Her name is Karen Wegas, and her email is wegask@kernprobation.org. And as I mentioned earlier, she will actually pull applications in May and also October for interning. Next slide. For those of you who are interested in pursuing a 4-year degree, I wanted to include our Deputy Probation Officer position that we have. A Deputy Probation Officer assists our Superior Court in investigation, disposition, supervision, and rehabilitation of adult and juvenile offenders, which is accomplished through a wide range of programs and assignments. Next slide. So the DPO eligibility requirements, you must graduate from an accredited 4-year college or university with a degree, have no felony convictions, again, U.S. citizen, have a valid driver's license, and be able to pass an extensive background, including medical and psychological evaluation. The hiring process is very similar to our JCO, with the exception that they do not have to do a physical ability test as a deputy probation officer. We have our DPO core, which they will have to pass in order to move forward into the position. If you're wanting a sample test for the deputy probation officer position, you can also go to the Board of State and Community Corrections at the www.escc.ca.gov and select the probation officer examination sample test, so you have an idea of what to expect on that date. Next slide. I wanted to provide some interview tips. Just remember to arrive on time, dress in appropriate business attire, research the department and the position you are applying for. Also be prepared to answer any scenario-based questions. Remember to always think of safety and security, depending on what you're applying for. If you're applying for a JCO position, remember to think of yourself, the youth, and the facility and your colleagues' safety. Also, if you're applying for a DPO, remember to think of yourself, your colleagues, the offender, and also the community in answering those questions. I would advise to highlight any educational or life experience you have on the subject matter. Also answer every interview question. If you do not understand the interview question, ask for the question to be repeated. That way it gives you time to absorb the question and gives you time to process and be able to respond accordingly. I would also just suggest doing mock interviews. If you know anyone or if you have friends or family or even teachers or people that you trust that can provide you assistance in doing mock interviews, I feel that that really helps in terms of getting you prepared and putting you in that hot seat. So when you are there in front of a panel, you can perform and do well. Next slide. So here's my contact information. Feel free to give me a call or email me at any time with any questions you may have regarding our department. I am working the background investigations unit, so I have access to different information in terms of what you're looking for to ensure that you're successful in a career path in our agency. Next slide. Does anyone have any questions? I know that we'll have a time for that here later. And again, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to kind of see what we're up to. All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Officer Menchaca. That was excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, our final panelist is from the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, Officer Adenia Mondragon. Welcome, Officer Mondragon.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am Correctional Counselor Mondragon. I have worked for the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation since 2005. I currently work at the Correctional Training Facility, which is a medium security prison. I started my career as a correctional officer. I work in various settings to include cell living, dorm living. I earned experience doing cell searches, supervising inmates in various settings to include the yard, their work assignments, the culinary, to mention a few. I also had the opportunity to work in the investigative services unit. In there, I learned advanced interrogation skills, searches, and report writing. I then went on and promoted to what I am, my current assignment as a correctional counselor 1, and it's the classification of inmates. It's gathering the probation report, the police report, and the inmates' case factors, social factors, and making recommendations to our different committees regarding their rehabilitation needs, their custody needs, and anything else that is important for that particular case. I'm happy to provide you guys with the video that is going to show you the basic process of how you can get started with us. And I would like to just add that the correction of corrections provided me with a career, not just the job. And I'm proud to say that you can start as a correctional officer, but we do offer the opportunity to promote through the ranks. You can start as an officer and promote to a sergeant, lieutenant, captain, all the way to administrations, or you can follow the classification path, which would be working as a correctional counselor. It just depends on what your interests are. And I'm ready for the video.
So, you want to become a correctional officer? Good call. Correctional officers are some of the most important frontline workers we have. Not only will you get a chance to make a difference in people's lives, you'll play an important role in serving your community. This video will help you understand the hiring process and learn how you can level up with CDCR. Before we walk you through the level up process, remember, becoming a correctional officer takes time. Our peace officer staff are made up of dedicated, hardworking men and women who have all been through this process. At any time, you can reach out to our team to help answer any questions you have. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. There are 7 important steps or levels that you will need to pass as you progress on your journey to becoming a correctional officer. First, there's your application, followed by a written exam, then a physical fitness test, a background check, a psychological evaluation, and a medical exam. And after that, you make the certification list, and then it's off to the training academy.
Hi, I'm Officer Devin Tovar, a recruiter with the CDCR. By now, you're either thinking about or have already applied to join our team. I remember when I first signed up 17 years ago. I was so unsure of what comes next. What do I need to do? Well, the hiring process is very different than when I first applied. So let's take a look at it. First, we'll need to make sure you meet the minimum qualifications. The application will assess criteria such as age, education level, and citizenship status, along with other minimum requirements. Don't get discouraged if you don't understand the process. We're here to answer your questions and help you figure out what steps to take if you still have any outstanding issues or concerns. Remember, you can contact our office during any stage of the process. We're here to help you all the way through the academy.
Hi, I'm Officer Morena Mesa. Once you submit your application, you will be notified by email of the next step, your written examination. This exam will evaluate your basic knowledge in grammar, spelling, math, and other skills. We want you to succeed. The best way to prepare for your exam is to review the sample test on our website.
Hey there, I'm Sergeant Jay Bernstein. As you already know, physical fitness is a critical component of being a correctional officer. This fitness test is created to simulate an officer's emergency response abilities. You'll run up and down a flight of stairs, navigate a short obstacle course, and run with weights. You can prepare now by watching our video of an actual test. Start practicing now. You will need to complete it all in 5 minutes and 5 seconds. So be ready.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Angela Martinez, a background investigator. It is crucial that our officers are fully vetted before they join the team. A background investigation is an essential part of this process. Your investigation will begin with you completing a personal history statement. This is an in-depth record of your personal information. This form is the foundation of our investigation. It's your chance to introduce yourself to our department, so we need you to be as thorough and accurate as possible. Our website, joincdcr.com, has a lot of resources to help you complete this document, so don't worry if it seems challenging at first. After you turn in your personal history statement, you'll come to my office and complete a computerized voice stress analysis. During this interview, we'll go over some of the information you have provided and make a copy of your fingerprints. This may feel like a lot, but please understand that we must be fully confident in every one of our officers to ensure the safety of our staff and inmates. So we have to be thorough during this part of the hiring process.
Greetings, I'm Dr. Diana Deeds with the Psychological Screening Program. I'm a licensed psychologist contracted by CDCR. As part of this process, you will take a psychological evaluation. Next, we'll schedule an oral psychological interview. Then we'll talk. I'll get to know more about you, to understand more about who you are. Now, this is a very important step because a healthy mindset is critical to performing your duties.
Hey there, I'm Dr. Jean Wagner. On this level, you'll be given a series of tests including visual acuity, color vision, a hearing test, blood work, a drug screening, and a respiratory fit mask test. This will allow us to evaluate your overall physical ability to be a correctional officer.
You've reached the last level. You will now be certified to hire.
Once you reach the final level, you'll select your institution preference. We have over 30 locations across the state, and the choice is yours. We cannot guarantee that the institution you want will have vacancies at the time you're ready to be hired, but you'll make the ultimate decision on which location is right for you. Once you accept a job offer that meets your needs, We'll assign you to the next available academy. After that, you're on your way.
Congratulations, you've leveled up. You're ready to become a correctional officer. But when you begin this process, remember, be patient. Becoming a peace officer is unlike any hiring process you may have experienced, and it's worth the wait. Not only do you make a difference for your community, but you earn a competitive pay and great benefits while doing it. Any questions? Just ask. We're here to assist and support you every step of the way on your journey to becoming a correctional officer in the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. We look forward to welcoming you to our CDCR family.
Thank you for allowing me to share the basic requirements to become a correctional officer. It has been an amazing, joyful experience. I've been able to develop a career path that I'm happy with, that I'm proud, and I will take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Officer Mondragon. That was excellent. We've had some great information shared today. So let's see what questions we have for our panelists. Please direct your questions to a certain panelist, and we'll be sure to get those directed to the right person. Let me check the queue here. Question for Adriana Menchaca. Officer, are the internships paid internships?
No, they are not paid internships.
Okay. Here's a general question. The viewer is asking, any recommendation of extra training that I can do before applying for any position, especially for those that don't have any prior experience in the law enforcement field?
I could take that, Pat. Yeah,
Okay.
I think one good thing to do is can definitely help bone up on your reading and writing skills. We write lots of reports. We take lots of notes. So that's one thing to do. Also, you know, a big part of this job is not only physical, but like mental physical. So if you're going out and you want to work out, just trying to push yourself a little bit better. Not that you have to go out and run a marathon or join the CrossFit Games or something like that, but being able to de-stress in some way, but also being able to work through certain problems with physical fitness is a good key thing to do. So I would suggest, you know, the reading and writing thing, physical fitness, it's never a bad thing to do. And then, you know, going up on your public speaking skills, being able to talk to people. We deal with different people every single day, and being able to have a conversation with them, as well as to give them orders if you need to be, you know, it's a valuable skill.
All right, thank you. There's a viewer who would like Officer Menchaca's email address again. Is it possible to post that?
It's Adriana Menchaca at kernprobation.org.
And I went ahead and I put that in the chat for them.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is, where can you get a copy of your record? I'm assuming criminal record. Anybody?
That's probably best answered by the Sheriff's Department. You can go down to the court building and check with that. If you go to Superior Court, I believe they'll be able to give you that information if you have a court record. And then if you're a juvenile record, you have to go to juvenile probation.
Okay, thank you.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay. A viewer asked, this is a question for the Sheriff's Department. What are the requirements to be a deputy coroner?
You got it.
The minimum qualifications and employment standards is the equivalent of 2 years of full-time paid investigative experience, which provides knowledge of investigative principles and techniques. Successful completion of an 832 course prior to employment, or successful completion no later than the first anniversary of employment as a deputy coroner. Applicants must successfully complete a firearms course within 1 year probation period, and they must possess a valid California C driver's license, and the minimum age is 21 years of age.
Okay.
The minimum qualifications for all the positions are listed on the county website.
Okay, great. Let's see. Are there any programs for teenagers who want to be a police officer? I guess that would be directed to the police department.
Yeah, we have a couple programs. We have what's called JPA. It's the Junior Police Academy. It's offered through our Police Activities League. You can go online. If you go to the Bakersfield Police Department website, I believe it has links to that. Due to COVID right now, that has all been kind of suspended. So I think they're getting ready to gear up another one, maybe June or July. And then we also have, if you go to, if you're in Kern High School District, you can go to ROC, the Regional Occupational Center, and they have law enforcement classes out there, which I have personally been involved in, where we talked about physical training and certain aspects of being in law enforcement. So a couple of the programs right there.
Okay, great.
May I also add that the Department of Correction, it does encourage 18-year-olds and older to apply for the department as an office assistant, for seasonal clerk, or student assistant, to get in and to get experience and to get a feeling by the time they turn 20. The requirement age is 21, but they can have a feel for it. So you can actually try to pursue that when you're 18.
Okay, thank you. We do have early college students that are 16 to 18 years of age. What do you recommend for them to possibly get into some kind of training, or can they do anything at that age with your departments? We'll start with the police department.
You can also, we also have our Explorer program, which you can, again, look at it at the main website, and it's conducted through our community relations unit. You can become an Explorer up until you're 18 years old. I believe it might be even 20 years old. I'm not sure the specifics of it, but becoming a police explorer, we can go on ride-alongs, and you go to different aspects of training. Again, the other programs we've talked about, the Junior Police Academy, and then the ROC from high school. The biggest thing about if you want to become a police officer and you're 16 to 18 years old is stay out of trouble. Don't go drinking. Don't go, I'm not telling you to not be a normal person, but just stay out of trouble. And, till you become 20 and a half, and then you can apply for any police agency you want. Some agencies let you go, like the sheriff's department. You can be 18 years old and you can become a detention deputy. That might be another aspect of an end to becoming law enforcement. I worked for the sheriff's department for 5 years before I came to Bakersfield Police. So I did just that. So again, just staying out of trouble and looking at the end goal. You want to be a police officer, and you're going to do it for the next 30 years. So that's my recommendation.
Okay. Sheriff's Office.
We also have an Explorers program, so they can call our department and get information about that. But it does help them get prepared for the career.
Okay, thank you. Probation.
We do not offer an Explorer program. However, once they're 18, I believe they can start taking some STC courses through like PCA 32 firearms or PCA 32 arrest and control, which can help them kind of get them moving in terms of our hiring process.
Okay. How old do you have to be at probation to be a volunteer in probation?
To be a volunteer in probation, again, it's highly recommended that you're within your second year at BC. So I guess that would make you anywhere from 18, 19, just have some experience while, working in our field or working with our officers.
Okay. Officer Mondragon, anything for people 16 to 18 years of age?
Not 16. It's 18 and older. We do encourage them, like I said, to apply for a possible office assistant, seasonal clerk, or student assistant, and that will give you the experience to come in and to work in this environment.
Okay, thank you. Officer Menchaca, a viewer is asking, do I need to have an associate's in criminal justice? I have my associates in human biology.
I'm sorry, and what position are they're looking for? The juvenile corrections officer position?
They just are asking if they need to have an associate's in criminal justice. They didn't specify.
Not necessarily. It is encouraged that they have some behavioral courses in their coursework, but really what we're looking for is the minimum of 60 semester units and 90 quarter units.
Okay.
So have them apply.
All right. Here's a long question. Let's see. A viewer asks, I'm currently seeking to work in the administrative office field, but is there a position that does not require a certificate or a 45 word per minute? I've been working in the office field for years, but had an injury about 6 years ago where I broke my wrist and the base of my left hand. I do type, but not as fast as before. My goal is to work in an office position, yet I'm concerned about not getting hired for not typing the 45 words per minute. I would like to volunteer in the office field to get the experience. Let's take this to the Bakersfield Police Department.
I'm trying to think. I think we have to have a typing certificate for everything. I know we do have like temporary positions, and you'd have to contact our human resources for exact if that's something that you want to get involved in. I mean, there are other city entities you could work at, not necessarily the police department. So if you want to get into admin stuff, you might be able to work at human resources or another city office building. So you'd have to check with human resources. Sorry.
Okay. Any other input from that question?
We also have the report technician position. The minimum typing is only 25 words per minute. We also have the sheriff's aide position, which doesn't require any kind of typing certificate.
Okay. The next question is, will you still qualify for employment if you had probation as a juvenile? I guess that applies to any of you. Anyone want to answer that?
As long as it's not a felony, they would still be eligible to apply for our agency.
Yeah, again, I was going to say the same thing. As long as it's not a felony conviction. If it's a felony conviction, then you might it might be stuck. But it's going to look at it on an individual basis, depending on when they were as a juvenile. If it's something that happened when they were 14, 15, or 16 years old, and they're now 28, then that's something that we could, we'll have to determine through the background process.
Okay.
We encourage everyone to apply with us. The only thing is the minimum qualification is no felony convictions.
Okay. Would that include if someone was pardoned, would they still be disqualified?
Yeah, just going through a background class we just had, if you're pardoned or exonerated or something like that, it just depends on, again, the circumstances. And then there has to be certain letters and certain guidelines from the state that come down and from the federal government. So not necessarily that they're going to become a police officer if you have a felony conviction, you were pardoned. So just, again, you could probably work in the law enforcement field in another aspect, but you're probably not going to be a police officer.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, how old is too old for any of these positions? Let's take this to the sheriff's office.
We don't have an upper age requirement. So as long as they can pass all the physical agility and background, the backgrounds tend to take a little bit longer if you've got 40 years worth of life experience to investigate as opposed to 18, but we don't have an upper age limit.
Okay, do any of the agencies here have age limitations?
The Department of Corrections, we only have the age requirement of 21 years old. But once again, we encourage everyone, as long as you can pass the all the exams, you're welcome.
Okay.
To come and work with us, to join us.
All right. Okay, here's one for all of you. The question is, how did you start your law enforcement career, and where did you recommend to start? And where do you recommend to start? Let's take this to the police department first.
I started my career after high school. I actually went in the military. I was in the Marine Corps. And then I had gone overseas during the first Gulf War. I came back and I decided to apply. I applied at both Bakersfield Police and the Kern County Sheriff's Department. I actually got hired at the Sheriff's Department as a detention officer at the time. And I worked there for 5 years, and then I applied at Bakersfield Police and again at the Sheriff's Department to be a deputy sheriff. And then I ultimately chose the police department simply because while the Sheriff's Department has lots of opportunities, such as like Rosamond and Ridgecrest in certain areas, I didn't want to work out there, and I didn't want to work in the jail after being there for 5 years. So I wanted to be local, so I came out, and that's why I went to Bakersfield Police.
Okay. Deputy Walden, can you answer that question too?
Sure. I started my law enforcement career in the San Diego Police Department crime lab. I was doing some of the forensic stuff, and that was too boring for me. I didn't have the adrenaline rush that I saw some of the people out on the street have. So I transitioned to the Tacoma Police Department up in Washington, and then down here to the Sheriff's Department.
Okay. Deputy McNeil?
I actually started later on in life. I waitressed for 10 years, and I waited on a lot of law enforcement officers, and a couple of them encouraged me to apply, and I've worked with the Sheriff's Office ever since.
Okay. Officer Menchaca?
I actually started as an extra help juvenile corrections officer. I started up at Camp Irwin Owen in Kernville, and I did 2.5 terms. I did that while attending college at Cal State University Bakersfield. And once I received my bachelor's degree, I went forward in applying for a deputy probation officer position with our agency.
Okay, very good. And Officer Mondragon?
I actually started my career with the probation, San Joaquin County adult probation, and I became very interested. And at the time I was going to college, I then went and looked into the benefits and the incentive for pay, vacations, sick leave, the ability to have a job anywhere in California and live anywhere if I decided to do so. And just the stability that the Department of Corrections provided was how I got into it. I applied, I went through all the steps, the 7 steps, and 16 years later, I'm very happy still that I made that choice to join the Department of Corrections.
Very good. There's another question for you. If you are 18 and want to apply for student assistant, do you need to be a high school graduate?
With our Department of Corrections, you must be enrolled in college. So it depends if the college accepts students without a high school diploma. But to be that, you have to be in college.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, how many times are you allowed to apply? Let's take this to the Bakersfield Police Department.
With us, you can apply. Again, our recruitments are pretty much done at this point twice a year. We do them usually in January, and we do them usually in May or June for an academy that starts in January and an academy that starts in July. As far as the other positions, you're more than welcome to apply as many times as you want. Again, with a police officer, if you take the pellet B and you fail it, you can only take it once every 30 days until you pass it. And then if you fail in our process if you fail the physical agility, again, it'd be 30 days at least. And then if you fail any portion of the background or the polygraph, it's going to be 1 year till you can reapply.
All right, thank you. Senior Deputy Walden, can you answer that question also?
We have pretty much the same guidelines as Bakersfield Police Department, so they fall in line.
Okay. All right, Officer Menchaca.
Well, as far as our hiring process, it depends on our department's needs. If in the event you apply and you're disqualified, we usually advise them to wait a year before they reapply with our agency.
Okay. And Officer Mondragon.
For us, they can reapply as many times as they need to, as long as they meet the minimum qualifications. So my advice would be to ensure that when you're going through the background, please be honest, provide as much information to make any clarification that you need, and that way you can avoid any delays. But yeah, you can apply as many times as needed.
All right, thank you. The next question is there going to be any gun training, firearm training during the process of becoming a deputy or police officer, or should we already know how to handle a gun? Let's go with the police department.
No, we don't offer any kind of training for firearm, and we actually like it that if you don't have any gun knowledge, if you do have gun knowledge and you can come out and qualify, then great. But we want people to not have any bad habits when you come out, and that way you can learn how to do it the way we do it. I'm sure the sheriff's department's probably a lot the same, but we don't offer anything specific for that.
All right. Deputy McNeil, any comment on that?
Well, if you are part of our academy, we will put you through a firearms course. And they do, like, if you have never shot before, I had never shot before, because you do have bad habits, but but yeah, you'll go through the course if you're picked up and you go through the academy.
Okay, thank you. Officer Menchaca, do all probation officers carry a firearm?
No, we are not all armed officers. Depending on your assignment, you may be armed or unarmed. If you start in an armed position and you wish to continue to be armed, you just have to make sure you're qualifying quarterly to maintain your firearm in your possession.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. This question asks, what does a written exam consist of for any of the career pathways? Who wants to take that one?
For us, for the Department of Corrections, is basic reading comprehension, basic math. That's the best way that I can describe it. So that is the part of the written exam.
Okay, thank you. In probation?
I would encourage the students to go onto the Board of State and Community Corrections website and review the sample exams for our juvenile corrections officer positions, also our deputy probation officer positions. It'll give them a sample of what to expect on that test itself. That way they can actually view it and see it.
All righty, thank you. One last question. What would you tell someone who is considering this career path, but they're not sure yet? Say they have an interest in criminal justice, but they're not sure. What would you tell them? Let's start with Sergeant Viola. You're on mute.
I would tell them definitely to do their research. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, do your research on the position that you want to do. And then, you can go on the California Post website. There are law enforcement agencies all throughout California. You can look at different agencies throughout the different parts of the country. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to be here. Again, I'm not trying to shoo people away from Bakersfield, but if you want to, if you don't want to be a police officer here because you grew up and were raised here and you want to try something different, you can go, somewhere else. And the requirements are somewhat the same, but a little bit different. I would also look at, what you want to do as far as what you want to do in the future. If you want to be a motorcycle officer, if you want to be on SWAT, or you want to do something like that, then, start preparing for that. Don't do it 2 weeks before, you want to take the test. I would start doing something like that now, being physically fit, being mentally fit, that kind of thing. So that's about I mean, it's kind of a calling, to do this job. It's not something that, I take lightly. I don't think it's not like TV where you could just, everything's solved in a half hour. It's something where, this is just 24/7. So when with my family, when I'm at home, I'm always a police officer. I have a police car parked out in front of my house. And, if I go down to the mailbox and something happens, they know who I am. They're going to come contact me. So you have to be prepared for that kind of thing too. So.
Okay, thank you. Officer Menchaca?
I would say our assignment is quite unique in that we are a balance of law enforcement and social work. We have various assignments within our department, which can make for a fun career. You can either be armed or you can be unarmed. You can work in the courts, work in a diversion program, or with juvenile offenders, adult offenders. We also have a flexible work schedules. We work Monday through Friday, unless you're obviously working with our institutions. Those are 24-hour run facilities. Our supervision officers will have some late nights here and there, but for the most part, they're also Monday through Friday. I think most importantly, it depends on what the student is wanting. Are they wanting to, provide rehabilitative services to offenders, make a difference in one's life? We uphold the court's recommendations by holding offenders accountable, and our commitment is to have a safe community. So again, providing rehabilitative services and community resources to our offenders is truly is the most rewarding part of, I think, of our line of work and what we do.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask each one of you, what do you love about your job? What makes you want to stay there so long? I'll start with the Bakersfield Police Department.
There's a lot of things. I mean, one like the Sheriff's Department representative said, you can work in a job and you're not going to get that adrenaline rush. You get that little adrenaline rush here, sometimes you never know what's going to happen. It could be driving around all night and not do anything, or it could be driving around and you get, in a foot pursuit or a car pursuit, or, you go to a hot call or something like that. So just kind of a little bit of adrenaline rush and excitement. I've been lucky since I've been here. I've worked a lot of different assignments. So I had a lot of different skills that I've learned, and, I'm able to pass on now to the people here at our police academy and throughout our training section. So, I think that's the biggest thing for me now, is being able to, see the people coming into the position and, having no knowledge and then giving them knowledge. And then, hopefully 5-10 years from now, seeing them in the position that I'm in and seeing how they've progressed.
All right. Thank you. Senior Deputy Roger Walden, what do you love about your job?
I think the thing I love the most about the job is the fact that it's not the same every day. Each day is completely different and you're constantly learning. If you're not learning and you're bored at the job, that's your own fault, because there's always something to do and always something challenging that can come along.
Okay. Deputy McNeil?
I would say the same thing as well. And I love the people that I work with. It's just a great environment, and it's a great career to start.
All right. Officer Menchaca?
I would say the same thing. I mean, just having the flexibility of being able to work various assignments within our department, learn and grow, the ability to advance in my career is always available. Also, again, the people that you work with, I mean, we have a very cohesive family-like environment here with probation, and we have this genuine trust of one another. And I think and an appreciation for one another that I think kind of really holds you here and allows that room for you to want to be here, the longevity and moving forward in your career itself.
All right, thank you. Officer Mondragon?
So many things I like. Obviously, the retirement is amazing. That's why I picked corrections. The medical, dental, vision insurance, the sick and leave vacation, the paid holidays, the ability to work in different assignments. In my current assignment, I have weekends and holidays off, but working in the investigative services unit, I was on call. And that ability to change is basically having one long career, but different assignments. It really is up to you. What I also love about my career is that R for rehabilitation. The focus that once you make an arrest, what do you do with that person, with that inmate? And is the focus in making sure that we rehabilitate them with either education, a vocation, substance abuse program, so that when they rejoin our society, they're better off and they hopefully have a better appreciation for their freedom and also for following the rules and the law. And I would say that that's I feel accomplished every day. It is fast-paced. It is ever-changing, especially now. And that is part of the beauty. Your days are not going to be the same. Every day is different.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, this wraps up our law enforcement employer webinar. We thank everyone who helped put this webinar together, particularly our Public Safety Advisory Committee, who always works diligently to serve our public safety students. We especially want to thank our law enforcement panelists for sharing valuable information today about the hiring process in each of their agencies. And we thank all of you for tuning in today. We hope this webinar has helped answer some of your questions about the hiring process and careers in law enforcement. Good luck to all of you who are thinking about or are currently seeking a criminal justice career. Good luck, and as you have heard, these agencies are often recruiting for eligible candidates. Now you know how to begin the employment process and what to expect. Until next time, thank you and stay safe, everyone. And please don't forget to do the survey at the end of this webinar. We really appreciate that. Thank you and bye-bye.